Just our spacing and ball movement. Our teams over the years have been so unselfish. Multiple guys that can make a shot. And on our team, we talk about this. Like, it doesn't really matter who scores as long as we score. The kids coming up in elementary school and middle school and high school, all they've driven into them is shoot and score, shoot and score. Well, 5 years after your career's over, nobody remembers how many points you scored, but they do remember how many games your team won. So winning is far more important than scoring, and I think that's part of maturing as a player. All our guys had to learn that when they got here because they were all stars. Much like Eric's kids, all those guys were stars where they came from, and so they're not used to moving the ball or passing the ball. But we don't negotiate those things. Those things aren't sitting there, and those aren't arguable points. Our program's all about accountability. I was surprised we only had 16 assists. I thought we had more than that actually. But shooting percentages, there's a direct correlation between shooting percentage and shot selection. And for us, we've played at Oregon, we've played at Virginia, we've played in Fort Worth, we played a bunch of games away from home, and they're all the same to us. Doesn't matter. We play the way we play. We defend, we rebound, we run our stuff, we execute, and we play unselfish. And you do that. And then we have, this is the first team we've had where we're playing multiple freshmen. And Joyce Walker's a freshman. Emmanuel Sharp's a freshman. Terrence Arsenault's a freshman. JVA Francis is a 19-year-old freshman. It may say sophomore, but he's a freshman because he didn't get to play last year, but just mop-up minutes. But his future is bright. So it's important that our young guys just keep progressing. Our staff does a great job with player development. Every year in and year out, we have a way we play, and they all buy into it, and it gives us a chance to be successful.
Talk a little bit about the defense. Obviously, an outstanding game defensively for you guys. So just talk about what was the key to you all's, stopping Tulsa tonight. I know your defense has been good all year, but
yeah, no, I started the game off. I wanted to call timeout and pinch Joyce Walker's ear. Obviously, there's no secrets with an offense. They were running a weave to a pick and roll and rolling. You've seen that a few hundred times this year. But for some reason, Jairus was over there guarding this man instead of zoning up. We have certain rules. I'm not going to go through what they are, but we weren't paying attention to doing things. And one thing number 33 can do, he can dunk. Especially if you don't guard him. Fellas, who's got the roller? Everybody knew who had it, but one guy. Guess who that was? The guy that was supposed to take the roller. So, but once we got, Richie Chaney, for instance, he started on a Final Four team. Think about it. He was a starting 5-man on a Final Four team. And look at all the teams that team beat with him as our starting center. Last year we had a grad transfer from University of Connecticut, Josh Carlton, who was first team all conference, and Josh and Reggie played behind him. But in our biggest moments, when I feel like I need to put our veterans out there, a mature group, I always put Reggie. He played critical moments in Charlottesville last Saturday or Saturday before last. He played critical moments tonight, but he has no ego. Doesn't pout when he doesn't get to shoot. Doesn't pout when he doesn't get to play major minutes. He cares more about winning than he does statistics, and I think that says something about our program. Says a lot for all our kids. That's why they value defense. We're not going to win championships with your offense. Your offense is probably a 1-in-3 night. How many times we're going to score 90? How many points we scored? 89 points. But I think we're leading the nation in field goal percentage defense, and we lead the nation in fewest points allowed. That'll carry you a long way. Some nights the ball goes in, some nights it doesn't. It's not because some of our best offensive execution, some of our best half-court offenses on nights when the ball does not go in. Just didn't go in that night. That happens, you know. Elite Eight last year, we played Arizona, the Sweet 16 game, then we turned around and played Villanova. One night, then we made 10, 11 threes. The next night, we couldn't throw it in the ocean. It was standing on shore. So it's just the way it goes. The defense and rebounding, playing together, playing hard, all those things help.
Kelvin, can you talk about the progression you've seen from J'Wan Roberts throughout the course of the season? Something you always mention with your young guys is really what you look for is that consistency. That consistency is key. Do you feel that you're at that level with Roberts where you have that confidence in him for him to be consistent day in and day out and that progression throughout the year?
Yeah, I've been there with him for a while. You know, last year, well, I'll go back to the Final Four team. He was playing major minutes on that team until Fabian White came back from for his ACL, remember? And then he came back. And so J'Wan, because he's unselfish and selfless, and I went to him and explained to him, here's what I'm going to do and here's why I'm going to do it. And he said, Coach, whatever you decide. Then last year, same thing. You know, our starting four and our starting, you know, I don't forget, but sometimes people do. We lost 4 starters off last year's team. Last year's team lost 4 starters. Our front line were both first team all conference. White, first team all conference. Carlton, first team all conference. Edwards, I think, was second or third team. Tajay Moore could have been. He was certainly on the all conference highlight film team. But this year we're replacing those guys with guys that came off the bench or freshmen. So this is a new team for us in a lot of ways this year. And this team is continuing to evolve. We're better than we were a month ago. And I think we'll be better a month from now than we are today. Because these kids practice the right way. I mean, we get after it in practice. J'Wan's had a lot of guys that's the shoulders he's standing on that's helped him along the way. You know, whether it was Justin Gorham, Fabian, Reggie, Josh. So, you know, just like, you know, when we play well, you know, these players deserve all the credit. A lot of times the players, the credit they should give is the guys that came before them.
Got time for a couple more if you got it. Dr.
Calvin, has Tremont gotten better at understanding what's a good shot for him with his shot selection and
Yeah,
what did you see from that
yeah,
today?
that was something. Yeah, that's something that back in the Kent State, St. Mary's, Alabama games, you know, takes a while. You know, they're all. You know, I think the last 3 times I saw him in high school at Dickinson High School, I think he had 44 one game. He had 40 in another. You don't score 40 points by passing all the time. You know, he wasn't built to pass the ball. You know, but you know where he's made his biggest progress is making the right play. It doesn't always mean you have to pass, but what does the play require? You know, if you're going to attack the basket and 2 people's going to come at you, that means that somebody's open. Don't shoot it. You know, and I don't rationalize that, or that's not discussable. You know, I don't. You know, there's a kid that's starting right now for the New York Knicks, Quentin Grimes. When he came in here, he was very similar. You know, he thought a shot was a shot that he could get. You know, I said, well, there's a reason why you shoot 28% from the 3 and 31. You should take bad shots, son. For the first time in your life, I'm going to tell you what a good shot is, and you're not taking good ones. So if you want to play for me, here's the way you're going to have to play. And those things are not negotiable. And once he learned how to play and learn how to take good shots and what a good shot was, his shooting percentage went up. But sometimes you have to pass it 8 straight times because that's the right play. And if you're on a good team, that means we may have scored 8 consecutive possessions, but you didn't score. So now you're working on their psyche. And it's okay not to score as long as we're scoring. But that's where shot selection comes in, and Tremont had to learn that. So, But all these kids that play for us are, they're first of all, they're great kids. We got great parents. You know, it's our staff is lucky in some ways. Now, we chose to recruit these kids. I learned a long time ago, if you don't want problems, then don't recruit them. We don't recruit problems. You can tell by the way our kids play. They're good kids. They're high character kids. They're all graduating. Marcus Sasser, he's got to take 12 credits, but he only has to have 2 classes, 6 credits to graduate. Reggie is going to graduate in May. J1 Roberts, he's got 2 more years because of COVID. He'll be back next year. Most of these guys will be back next year. You know, we have a very young team, but because of COVID in summer school, that's allowed us to graduate almost all of our players now. The ones that don't go pro. We have some kids go out early to the NBA or whatever, but the ones that stay always graduate.
Okay, time for one more. We'll go in the back there.
Jarris is a guy that doesn't always stuff the stat sheet, but when you watch him play live, it just pops. He impacts the
Yeah.
game in so many ways. What have you seen from him that doesn't show up on the box score that impacts winning every night?
You know, Jarris is still learning how to impact winning in ways when the ball's not in his hand. You know, like I'm just scanning the. You know, we'll have a discussion tomorrow. Price had no offensive rebounds tonight. You know, he had 7 shot attempts, no offensive rebounds. Now, granted, we almost shot 60%. There weren't a lot of missed shots, but we did miss 25, made 36 and missed 25. So there's opportunities there. The thing I've always took pride in is teaching our kids how to win. How do you win the game? You know, that's the difference in coaches and people that don't coach. People that don't coach can tell you what you did wrong. Well, it's like telling me that, well, this is white and that's black. That's about as far as they can go. But at some point, you've got to figure out, how do we win? Which end of the floor? You know, how do I impact winning? And that's where Jarris is learning. He's had great games. He was awesome against. He got in trouble against Alabama. Just played okay. Great against Virginia. Not very good against this game. You know, he's up and down, but he's starting to level off. But his best days are way ahead of him. You know, he's got the body of. He looks like Karl Malone a little bit with his body, but not quite as strong or as aggressive. But we're on him. You know, he's coming. You know, he's 19. Terrence Arsenault is only 19. Manuel Sharp's only 19. JVA France is only 19. We have 4 19-year-old kids on this team. They're all young guys, and but we have great leadership. We have great player leadership. Sasser, Shed, Roberts, Cheney, all those guys are great leaders.